Support for Arkansas Week provided by the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, the Arkansas Times, and Little Rock Public Radio.
And welcome to the show. Welcome to Arkansas Week. I'm Dawn Scott. And East Arkansas City is again experiencing a water system failure. This is the second in 7 months. For more than 2 weeks, many in the West Helena area have been without water for drinking, bathing, and other needs. And officials warn it could be several additional weeks before water is completely restored. So joining me to get to the bottom of this, Chris Colclasure, the Director of Natural Resources Division of the State Department of Agriculture. We also have A.J. Gary, the Director of the Arkansas Division of Emergency Management, and also Chris Harris, the Deputy Director of the Arkansas Rural Water Association. And via Skype, we have State Senator Reginald Murdock, whose district includes this area. And we appreciate you all being with us today. I want to start with you, Chris. Freezing weather brought this issue on in West Helena. What's the status on restoring water right now?
As of today, we have got water service restored to every customer in the city of West Helena. We've actually taken samples to hopefully get them off the boil order either today or Monday. And we're still repairing leaks. We're still finding many, many leaks that they have. The system is very old and it is very fragile. So bringing it back up from having nothing in the water tanks has caused even further issues. So as of right now, we're up, but without a new well, I mean, it's a matter of time before it could happen again. We just hope that we can hang on until we can get something in place to be more sustainable for them.
And when we say today, we're taping this on Friday morning, the 2nd of February, just to be clear, because this show does air several times. I want to talk to you, AJ, the National Guard and emergency responders providing water bottles, water trucks coming in, and portable showering facilities have been brought in. What was involved in making this happen? Are you still there on the ground?
Sure, thank you. So anytime we have a weather event that's moving into Arkansas, we work very close with the National Weather Service. So we start before that system even reaches our state, having coordination calls with our locals, briefing the governor on the potential that the damage that this event could cause. And it was the same way with this ice storm, ice event that came in. We met with the governor, briefed the governor. The determination was made to do a state of emergency because we felt with that temperatures dropping based on previous experience that we possibly have some issues, roadways, things of that nature. So that allowed us to be able to bring resources in pretty quick. And as the weather started to warm, we started seeing issues with some water systems around the state. And so we were able to very quickly, with the governor's support, to move those resources in to help out. So Helena-West Helena was the largest community that was impacted. So we immediately, and in working with a lot of our partners, our state partners, our nonprofit organizations, they were able to get truckloads of water in really quick. The state also purchased additional water to make sure that we had water going into that community. And as you mentioned, we brought in portable showers, portable laundry services and things like that to try to address those immediate needs while the experts were working on the water system, getting it restored.
I want to get to you, State Senator Reginald Murdock, via Skype. 40% of the population, there are 1,400 residents. What has this been like for them?
Well, first of all, let me say thank you for inviting me on this morning to discuss this very important topic that we're dealing with here. And let me also say thank you to the governor and all of her staff and all of those that have, and the other agencies that have participated. They've been nothing but wonderful and helpful for the citizens of Helena-West Helena. So I do want to off top. But it's been traumatic. It's been what you would think when someone loses the greatest resource man has is water. It's very, very difficult to live. It affects health, safety, everything that you do in your life. Water is very important to that. So it's been a very traumatic situation.
And I know Chris mentioned that it had been restored this morning, but there's still issues moving forward. And I want to get to you, Chris Colclasure. Governor Sanders, of course, met with most of you as well as local leaders and passed the Natural Resources Commission, pressed them rather, to really expedite the approval of the $100,000 emergency loan for the city. What is the status of that right now?
Yeah, so we received that request last week, and then we processed it immediately. So the city has the approval to move forward up to $100,000 to make some of the repairs that they need, and that's something that we do something that we have as a tool for communities when they're in an emergency situation and they need parts or experienced labor to come in and help them.
I want to ask each of you to respond to this question, though. The $100 or the $100,000, of course, is for the emergency situation. But moving forward, this is an old infrastructure, and this isn't you mentioned the only city in the state in need. What are we looking at here long term? And I'll start with you, Chris Harris.
So long term, the first and foremost thing that we've got to have is a new well. We've got to have more water to be able to provide to the customers. We've got several issues as far as in the treatment process, valves, things of that nature, the filter media itself, and then moving into the distribution system. That's going to be the greatest triumph of all if we can get a lot of those 2-inch galvanized mains replaced. That 2-inch system was put in originally, and it has been in there the longest, and that's where most of the breaks are occurring. And so if we can look at that, that's going to be the overall picture for West Helena. Now, I would like to take time to thank Mayor Franklin and the council. At the last council meeting, they pledged $1 million toward the restoring of this new well, or the rebuilding of this new well, and the people in the community. We've had a lot of volunteers to come out there and either hand out water or offer to work right along beside us. We've had a JP and several other volunteers that have been in the field with us, learning to what's going on and seeing what's needed to be done.
Yeah, is that enough money, do you think, $1 million to fix the entire problem?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I think it's going to be a long process, and it's going to take several million, but wherever we can start, that's where we want to get started. The well is going to be the first and foremost thing, and that's probably not all what they're going to need for that, but that is a good start.
Back to you, State Senator. What are you hearing from the constituents there? That this happened last summer, so this is the second time around, and as we're hearing, if we don't fix the problem now, it's going to happen again.
Well, what I'm hearing is that they're concerned, and so this is a kind of a complicated and convoluted situation, as those that's close to this know. This has a historical impact from years of neglect, just to be quite frank, and therefore we're put in a situation whereby we have to try to ensure that we have confidence in residents that going forward, that whatever funds will come to our community, that we can properly use them. Now, accessing those funds and even getting the dollars needed, the many millions that will be needed to fix the long-term problem is a process, and the governor and myself and others are trying to come together and formulate a plan along with the city that will allow us to access funds from various organizations and along with the legislature as well. So it's going to be all hands on deck for this situation, because it's gotten to be much too large for the Helena-West Helena community to handle all by themselves.
Well, that was my next question, and Chris Colclasure, you can speak to this, that money's going to have to come from a lot of different places to fix this problem.
Yeah, that's correct. Because of just the size of the system and that so much of the infrastructure is outdated, we're really going to have to develop like a 10-year plan so that we can address the issues. What can we physically actually replace in a year? How much, funding can we find to fix 1 year's worth, and just keep tackling it 1 year at a time. And we've had conversations with the city and encouraging them to get an engineer on board that can actually lay out that 10-year plan.
Well, and then it puts you in an interesting position, AJ, because you're there when disaster happens. It happened 7 months ago. It's happened now. And in the meantime, while all these groups, and I applaud you all for working to try to fix this problem, there's likely going to be another issue that you're going to have to step in and help with.
There will be, and again, as I mentioned before, it's in emergency management. It's all about the partnerships that we have and the people that we can bring to the table to respond to when events happen. We have a lot of disaster events in the state of Arkansas, and you know, I think with you know, right off the bat, we pulled this group together. We did a coordination call with a lot of state agencies. The governor put that together right off the bat. Rural Water Association has always been a great partner. Natural Resources, and our National Guard and our other state agencies. So we're able to move pretty quick when an event happens. And that's really what our focus is in emergency management, is making sure that we meet those immediate needs that our citizens have.
We want to get some final thoughts from each of you. And Senator Murdock, let's start with you. Just about 30 seconds of what you need and what you want your residents to hear from you.
Well, I want them to have patience and understand that we are trying to be as helpful as we can, that all hands are on deck, and that we really need each other at this time. And I want us to unify and do not isolate ourselves one from another. Be sure to reach out to others that will help you through this situation, and know that everyone is trying to help you through a very tough situation, and we do care.
And Chris Harris, you mentioned water back as of today, Friday. What can you share as your final wrap to this?
Well, we just thank the residents for being patient with us. I know that it was kind of a trying time, us turning water on and off, trying to get water up into different sections of the city, but and thank the staff for the city has. They stood side by side with us. Also, they sent 3 from CAW. They come down, Central Arkansas Water. Those guys were helpful, and we appreciate all that. And we just hope to move forward and keep them in water for the duration until they get everything in place.
AJ Gary, you're on the ground there. How long do you anticipate being there?
I think now that the water system is up, just talking to the locals, I think they'll be releasing the National Guard. I think maybe even as soon as today, but certainly within the next couple of days, as long as everything's going good. They have supply of bottled water, other resources, and then we're always available that if something happens, we can respond very quickly to meet those needs.
And Chris Colclasure, to you, this is obviously not just a Helena problem, it's really probably a number of cities across the state.
Yeah, I mean, our infrastructure across the state and a lot of our cities is very outdated, and we're proud that they're making the investments in it to get it up to where it can be more sustainable and more reliable. And we see a lot of effort across the state right now in making the needed investments in their infrastructure.
And we need to do this proactively too, would you say?
You
I
bet.
mean, not wait for a disaster to happen somewhere else.
You bet. I mean, in many cases, you know, deferred maintenance is what gets you down the road to where you have major emergencies, and it makes it that much more difficult to recover from those if your infrastructure is outdated. So, and we're committed to working with Helena-West Helena to try to get their infrastructure replaced.
Well, thank you all. Chris Colclasure, of course, Director of Natural Resources Division with the Department of Agriculture, thank you. And AJ Gary, Director of the Division of Emergency Management. Chris Harris, the Deputy Director of the Arkansas Rural Water Association. Of course, via Skype, we have State Senator Reginald Murdock, whose district, of course, falls in that area. We thank you all for being here. And we'll be right back with more of Arkansas Week after this. Welcome back. Arkansas is expected to get a major economic boost and a lot of attention when an April 8th solar eclipse occurs. A curved line through the state will be in the path of totality, with about 1.5 million visitors projected to be in our state to take in our exceptional vantage point. It is being touted as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for people and for businesses. And joining me to talk about preparations for this historic event, Katie Beck. She is the CEO of the Arkansas Hospitality Association. We also have Dr. Michael Pakko, Chief Economist for the Arkansas Economic Development Institute, and Morrilton's Mayor Alan Lipsmeyer. We appreciate you all being here. I want to start with you, Dr. Pakko, before we get to the eclipse, a different but timely topic. Revenue numbers just came out this morning as of Friday. Give us the rundown.
Oh, the numbers that came out today are consistent with what we saw in the first half of the fiscal year. Revenues are down somewhat from the previous year, but ahead of forecast. So as a result, we had another budget surplus of nearly $15 million, and that accumulates to, for the fiscal year so far, $231 million of a surplus this year.
We appreciate that. Thanks so much. And on the solar eclipse, what kind of revenue are you expecting that this event will bring to businesses?
This is going to be a really big deal. The history of this, the similar event that happened in 2017, cutting a different arc across the country, led to a lot of studies that looked at the economic impact. Places like Wyoming, Nebraska, South Carolina, all reported this as the single biggest tourism event in their history. And I anticipate it'll be a similar kind of event here in Arkansas.
Well, Katie, let's talk with you a moment. An incredible influx of visitors is expected with this. What are you hearing about potential tourists, and can we handle it all?
So, no, it's such an exciting time for Arkansas. Expected 1.5 million visitors, and if you put that into perspective with the state's population, that's our population growing by 50% just for this event. But one of the things that I've been hearing from our members throughout the state and just industry folks is that they are prepared. This is an exciting time, but we have a robust hospitality industry, a robust hotel industry. And one of the things that we've been telling people is that there's still availability. So don't wait to book because it's booking fast, but there's still time. So don't hesitate to plan out of fear of lack of vacancies, because we still have some, and that is in part due to just the robust hotel industry that we have, but the preparations that have gone into this years in the making.
Well, let's talk to you, Mayor Lipsmeyer. Your city is one of the fortunate ones to be right in the path of totality. And what are you expecting? And I know you've been in touch with places elsewhere who've experienced something similar. So talk about that, if you will, too.
Well, we've been in touch with Casper, Wyoming. Jim Daly, the past mayor of Little Rock and who was chairman of the Parks Tourism Commission, is one of our consultants, and he got us in touch with them, and they gave us the white papers that they used and what they learned, and we've had meetings for over 2 years with our emergency management, police, fire, all over the county, trying to get ready for this project.
Well, to be clear, Casper was right in the path of totality back in 2017, August of 2017. They were the ones in the position that you're in now. What have they shared with you? Well,
they had a $500 million, or $500,000 increase in sales tax just for that week.
Wow.
And so they've, been in touch with our police department, getting us prepared, how to handle the traffic. Our town is very walkable, so we're trying to tell the people, our visitors, to stay at their hotel and walk wherever they need to go, so we don't have people driving to the closest parking place for entertainment and all those kind of things to keep our traffic down. We've got Interstate 40. We're not sure how that's going to affect people pulling off into our town. It's hard to know what exact number we're going to have of visitors. We only have 200 hotel rooms in Morrilton, so that's not the economic boost. So we've created villages to have primitive camping, RVs come in. That's where we feel like we're going to see our boost. Pettigene Mountain, #1 state park in the nation, is already booked up. So we've got Winthrop Rockefeller Institute that's going to have NASA, 17 different colleges there. So we feel like we've got a lot of good things going on. We're just not getting the publicity that all the other towns are getting.
Well, you're getting it now.
So we appreciate that today.
I want to talk, it's interesting bringing up, kind of Casper, Wyoming, the sales revenue that brought in. What does that do to our state, and how can we eventually use that money, from that's brought in from this one event?
Well, it's going to be a big influx of tourist spending, and when it comes to economic impact, tourism is a rich source of revenue for businesses and tax authorities, for that matter, the sales tax revenue that will come in from it. Forbes did an interesting study after the 2017 eclipse event where they found that retail foot traffic inside the zone of totality went up about 16%, but just outside the the zone was even bigger increase, like 28%.
Wow.
So people on their way home after the eclipse, stopping to get gas or grab a meal, it's going to affect not just those communities that are at the heart of the event, but also those surrounding communities that will benefit from the traffic. Although the traffic is expected to be pretty bad, especially right after the event ends. People will be coming for the weekend and then expecting to just head home after the event, and the highways are likely to be pretty congested.
We might have some issues.
I-55 in Casper, Wyoming was shut down.
Wow. And so we could potentially see that here as
at
well.
Interstate 40.
At Interstate 40.
Places like that.
You know, I want to ask you, Katie, you mentioned there are still rooms available and locations available, but we have, kind of anecdotally heard from residents, who've had offers of people to, rent out their homes or rent out their lake houses or do things like that at exorbitant prices. Are we seeing kind of an increase in pricing? Are we seeing some of that already?
Just with the market and surrounding certain events, there are always small, fluctuations. But like I said earlier, our hotel industry is prepared. They have been working with, whether it's from a corporate brand standpoint, from a Marriott or a Hilton, but also from our independently owned hotels. They've been preparing in terms of availability, but also just adjusting to the market.
Well, I'm curious if our restaurants can handle it as well, just given that sheer number of people, like if our infrastructure could handle.
So it's interesting. I actually talked to a restaurant owner earlier this week, and one of the things that they've been doing is making sure that they have scheduled deliveries and they have enough food for their customers. And some of that is kind of maybe deliveries at different times of the day, but also bringing in extra storage to host. So those preparations are underway just to be able to handle the customer volume and to have food to prepare, but also the refrigerator space or in the storage for that.
Yeah. Well, and I'm curious, I want to hear more about the villages that you mentioned, Mayor Lipsmeyer. What does that entail? Is it just setting up
It's just raw
campgrounds?
land. We're doing our city park into a camp where the pavement will take RVs, the ball fields will take tents. That's just to create more places for people to stay. We've got people out in the county that are doing that also, and it's been a slow go getting bookings in those yet because they're still going to the hotels first. But we've also in our meetings we've been dealing with pharmacists, having them to have more prescription, more medicine because people are going to run out of things. It's just a whole gamut of being prepared with all the products that you're going to need for this event. Well,
and I imagine there'll be quite a lot of last minute, a lot of press and publicity about the event, and then people just sort of deciding at the last minute.
And then day trippers, people coming in. They've also said there's going to be 500,000 people move across the state, just people that live here moving closer to the blue line also. So it's going to be day trippers too, just needing a place to park, to look at it. And we feel like we're going to have a lot of that because people are probably going to stay in Conway or Russellville and then come maybe to our town because we do have more totality. Things like that. But we've been meeting with our restaurants too, our ambulance service, trying to get everybody prepared how we'll manage this whole week.
I'm curious if there's an event to sort of market, like a fireworks show or just any sort of, I don't know, concert or something.
We have a concert series at our Rialto Theater that week for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and to try to get people to come in. We're going to have food vendors downtown, crafts, things like that set up downtown.
We sure hope the weather holds out. I'm not even thinking we want good weather to be able to actually see it. Dr. Pakko, I want to talk to you. Is there a forecast number that you anticipate the state to bring in from something like this?
Not that I've run across. We've seen some really huge numbers for the states that experienced the 2017 increase. You mentioned 1.5 million visitors. In Wyoming, they did an expenditure study on visitors to the state during 2017 for that particular weekend, and they spent about nearly $1,000 in today's inflation-adjusted dollars on lodging, food, and transportation expenses. So that's going to really add up.
Yeah, it sure will. And then we'll have it, what to do with it later. We'll figure that out. I know that won't be a bad thing, though, for sure. No. I know as we wrap this up, I just do want to get some final thoughts. Maybe for Arkansans living here who suddenly have this influx of people coming, any thoughts for them or any final thoughts that you want to share? Mayor Lipsmeyer, start with you.
If you're at home, you need to be prepared. Like like the last ice storm, you need to be prepared at home with milk and food, because you may not be able to get to the grocery store. You may not be able to get out with the traffic problems, those kind of things. You need to have your medicine. You need to have everything you need at home, being prepared for that, because we don't have any idea what kind of traffic is going to look like in any town. And it's not a competitive thing, because there's no town that can handle any of these people, all these people. You know, if they could just evenly be spread out, it would be great. That's not going to happen, but it's not a competitive thing. It's all of us are going to benefit from this.
Absolutely.
The whole state's going to benefit from this.
Sure. Dr. Pakko, final thoughts from you.
Well, I would just reiterate the point that for business owners, the important thing to plan for is to have enough staffing and inventory to meet the demand. It's probably going to be bigger than anyone expects, even given the fact that we are anticipating such a big event.
And Katie Beck, I want to hear from you. Just thoughts from people who are members of the Hospitality Association, what they're sharing with you and what you can share with us.
Sure, you know, and it's just an exciting time for the state, not only to showcase everything that we have to offer to visitors, but it's also exciting for Arkansans to, you know, maybe take a weekend trip to experience the event and to really experience this event within our home state. The industry is, again, it's a robust industry, second largest in the state. They've been preparing for years, and we're excited. They're excited to host, and again, there's still availability, so don't wait to book.
Yeah.
But because they will book fast, but our hoteliers and our restaurateurs they're gearing up for it.
It's definitely one for the history books for sure. Thank you so much, Morrilton's Mayor Alan Lipsmeyer. Thank you, Dr. Michael Pakko, the Chief Economist for the Arkansas Economic Development Institute, and Katie Beck, the CEO of the Arkansas Hospitality Association. We do appreciate you all. And thanks for being with us for this episode of Arkansas Week. We'll see you next time.
Support for Arkansas Week provided by the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, the Arkansas Times, and Little Rock Public Radio.